Up until now, there really hasn't been a way to clone CD-based systems. If you wanted a clone system like the Retron 5, you were only stuck with cartridge-based systems. Sega Genesis, Super Nintendo, Game Boy Advance, Grafx 16, just anything after those generations, you were kind of stuck with the original hardware. And CD-based systems like the Sega Saturn, the Grafx CD especially, are prone to failure. And so that makes getting a actual working system pretty hard to come by or very expensive. I know that the Grafx CD unit is very prone to failure, and if you actually want a working system, you need to invest in a Turbo Duo, and the Turbo Duo is very expensive on its own. But now you have this thing, it's called the Polymega, and what it aims to do is emulate those CD-based systems and allow you to play them on HD TVs. So the Turbo CD, Sega CD, Neo Geo CD, and PlayStation 1 all play on the Polymega. And what's even more interesting about the Polymega is that you can buy these modules, and those are actual FPGA that will play NES, Super NES, Grafx, and Sega Genesis games, with more to follow. Now, it's still kind of hard to actually pre-order because the site is down at the moment as the recording of this video. According to their Twitter profile, they say that they're working to increase the bandwidth, so we'll see how that goes. Right now, a base system, which is just the CD base, will cost you $250. Now, that's pretty expensive for something that hasn't really been proven. They showed it off at E3, but I haven't really seen too many people talk about it. So I'll be really interested to see how well these games run on an emulated platform. But what's even more interesting is that you can pick and choose which module you want. So any module will cost you $60 a piece, and what's cool about those cartridge modules is that they're FPGA based, and FPGA definitely gives you a lot closer to the original hardware instead of like a Retron 5 where it just emulates and the sound sounds off, and you know, there's input lag and all this other stuff that's been so frustrating playing modern games on a HD television. I mean, up until now, if you really wanted an FPGA Super Nintendo experience, you had to get the analog NT, which is pretty expensive. Same thing with the Retrobit AVS system. That definitely, you know, will run you about $200 if you want to play HD NES games. So this will be really interesting to see how well it does in the marketplace and how it will affect retro video game prices. I know that retro video game prices have kind of plateaued over the past couple years or so, mainly because as we get an older generation, much of the newer stuff like Nintendo 64, GameCube, and PlayStation 2, they're starting to rise in value. So it'll be really interesting to see how many people are interested in this to actually buy it for the Super Nintendo and NES, considering that there's like a ton of different options for this. If the site actually comes up, I'll definitely take a look. I might actually pre-order it. I'm kind of intrigued to see how it works. It definitely seems a little bit more solid of an investment in my time and money than the Atari VCS, because we really haven't seen too much of the Atari VCS, but it appears that these guys have over $500,000 in backing, so they don't have to crowdfund, which definitely makes it a more sound investment. So this is actually a pre-order and not actually a crowdfunding campaign. So we'll definitely see once the site comes up, and if and when it comes up and I can get my hands on it, I'll definitely pull the trigger on it. So what do you think? Do you think that the Polymega is going to be a super success, or do you think it's just another clone system that won't really get anywhere? Let me know in the comments below, and if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and if you're new here, consider subscribing for future retro and modern gaming content. I'm Super Nintendo, and thanks for watching.